Hello and welcome to the Northern Airsofters. I'm going to first start off in this video by apologising for the lack of videos that we've had coming out recently. The reason is that we've just been away recently for a while, so now that we're back, videos will be continuing as normal. And aside from that, welcome to my review of the ICS l85a2. Now, you may have remembered that I did a review of this before, but I'm simply doing a re-review of it because the last one that I did the review of did have a few faulty parts. So obviously those of you who have been subscribed to the channel or been to the channel before may know that I did that review, but this is just an update on the gun, and the gun without the faulty parts. Now, first off by saying, what is the L85? The L85 is the standard issue British assault rifle today. It's used by most regiments of the British Army, aside from regiments such as the SAS and SPS. The A2 version was developed by Heckler & Koch, which is the German gun manufacturer. However, the first A1 version was developed by Enfield, I believe. It is an SA-80, so it's small arms from the 1980s. So the A1 version was developed in the 1980s. However, the A2 version, I believe, was developed in the mid-1990s to late 1990s, but don't quote me on that. And now we'll get straight into the aesthetics of the gun. Now, first of all, looking at this gun, you can see that it is a bullpup design, which means that the magazine and working parts are behind the trigger. In real guns, this usually allows for a longer barrel yet more compact size, which means it's smaller yet also has better range and better accuracy. Downsides of having a bullpup design, which means that a lot of the weight is located to the rear of the weapon, which sometimes allows for it to be unstable or less balanced, but with the kind of butt plate that you have on this, quite a grippy butt plate, which allows the shoulder to take most of the weight, which allows the control of it to be a lot easier, as your arm is controlling the much lighter side of the weapon. Now, in airsoft weapons, the bullpup design doesn't really make much of a difference to the idea of the range and stuff like that, but obviously this is a replica of the real gun, so that is why it has the bullpup design. Now, going through the parts from the front to the rear, we first have the metal flash hider, or muzzle as it's more commonly called. This is removable to reveal a 14mm anti-clockwise thread, suitable for silencers and other attachments that you might want to fit onto the end. It also has a full metal outer barrel with a 480mm inner barrel. I'm not quite sure whether it's tight bore or not. Moving down the weapon, we now come to the handguard, which is a high density polymer in olive green. Along with that, we have the foresight with the two foresight blade protectors and the foresight blade in the middle. If I turn the gun over here, you can see that there's the front sling loop here, and located on the top of the handguard, you have the top cover that allows you to get to the replica gas parts that are inside, and allows you to take the handguard off the front to access the battery compartment. Along with that, the gas parts, you have a replica gas selector, which is included on the real weapon with settings for normal, excessive and off. Moving on to the safety catch, we can see here it is a metal safety catch. It's just a small little button with engravings on either side. You can push it through to the other side. On this side it has F engraved in it for fire, and on this side it has an S for safe. Below this you have the trigger, which is a plastic trigger. Around that you have the trigger guard, and connected onto that you have a plastic high density polymer olive green pistol grip with a small compartment in the bottom if you wanted to put in some other Mentos or anything else that you might want to have with you in an airsoft game. Is quite hard to get off. So Further on from that bit, you see on this side we have the cocking handle. It is called the cocking handle because it is on the British gun. Otherwise this may be called the charging handle. But this can be pulled back to reveal the hop-up. As you can see, the dust cover drops down when you pull it back. The hop-up is adjustable. I think you turn it clockwise to turn it up and anti-clockwise to turn it down. To hold this open, you have the hold and open device back here, and to release you simply just pull back and let go and it flies forward. This dust cover does come down when you pull it back, but all you have to do is lift it up, pull it back and let go and it falls back into place. Above that we have the rear sights, which is changeable from the usual daytime pinhole sight or your night sight, which has a larger aperture so that it allows more light in. These are protected by two rear sight protectors and it is raised on a carry handle. At the rear of the gun you have the butt plate, which has a serrated back which allows it to fit into your shoulder easier. It is rubber or a green material which allows it to be that extra more grippy, if that's a word. On either side of that you have the ambidextrous rear sling loop, which allows you to along with the front sling loop, allows you to attach 3-point slings, 2-point slings, and maybe or 1-point slings as well. Although I'd probably recommend a 3-point sling for this, which I'll go into a bit later. Now on the other side of the weapon at the rear, you have the rear body pin, along with the front body pin here. These allow you to disassemble the weapon, which I'll go into on another video. You have the fire select here with up for semi-automatic and down for fully automatic. You then have the olive green rubber cheek piece up here at the top and magazine release catch over here with the magwell located just beneath it. Both of the sights on this weapon are adjustable and removable, so if you want to fit another sight such as a SUSAT or an ACOG you can. However, the rail located on the top here is a 19mm rail, so if you want to fit something like an ACOG you'd have to get an adapter. For the only sight that can actually fit onto this kind of rail is a SUSAT, but they are generally rather expensive. Battery space in this gun isn't brilliant, but it is adequate depending on what kind of battery you use. I use this 9.6 volt 1600 milliamp battery here, and to get to the battery compartment you simply press this black button on the top, lift up the top cover and pull it off. It can get a bit fiddly because there are a lot of parts that it can get caught on, but taking it off is rather easy. Now here you can see that it has a MOSFET along with a small Tamiya connector. This fits straight on to the battery that I have because as it is both small Tamiya connectors, and you just place the battery up here and bring the handguard back onto the gun. Now getting it back onto the gun is the harder part, as obviously there is more stuff to catch on, but eventually you should get it back on the right way, and once you've got it on it simply just fits on as so. It may take a bit of effort, and you close the top cover like that and there you are, you have your battery in the gun. The recommended sling that I'd use for this gun is the standard SA80 sling. This sling is kind of set out like a 3-point sling, but is rather unique in a way. To put this sling on the gun, you can see that it has 2 clips there. This allows for a quick release clip, so that you can have it still slung to your body but be able to move it around easily. It has a brass loop here that you need to be facing upwards. You can have it this way around and you thread the side with the brass loop through the front sling loop, making sure that it doesn't get twisted. obviously I've just got it twisted there, so that's not what not to do. I'll tell you there. So, and then you thread it back through the brass loop, and then you will see above the clip on the other side you have a serrated edge there, and you thread it through the serrated edge. This is so when you do use the quick release, it keeps the sling together and intact, but it just lengthens it out so you can move it around a lot easier. Then you thread this through the rear sling loop, and bring the other sling round, the other side round, and you thread it through the top hole in that little adjuster there, and then back through the bottom one. And there you are, you have your S80 sling attached to the L85. If you wanted to release the sling, you simply just detach the quick release here, and with the weight of the gun falling down, it allows this to move freely. The back is also adjustable. Simply by lifting up this little flap here, you can pull it out to make it much wider, and then tighten it again just by pulling on the sling. And there you are. That is how to attach an S80 sling to the L85. Now, overall impressions of the gun. Overall, the gun performs much better than it did before with my last gun. Its range on it, I'd probably say, comes to around 30 to 50 metres, which isn't bad. It's not brilliant, but it's not bad. I mean, considering it is an ICS gun, that is pretty average. With the new parts, I've had no problem with the gearbox or any faults going wrong with it. And over FPS is quite high. It is a changeable FPS, which is a very good point. So, because a lot of sites in the UK don't allow you to fire above 350 FPS for say, or 400. Some of them have FPS limits. So this gun has adjustable FPS, going from 400 FPS to 300 FPS, with settings at 300, 350 and 400 FPS. So that is always a good point of the gun. The adaptability of it isn't great, and obviously because a lot of attachments you can't get, and you need to get a proper rail system for the L85, which again is very expensive. Sights and stuff that you get for it aren't very common. The only sight that you can really get is a SUSAT, which again is expensive, unless you get an adapter, in which case you can get an ACOG. As I said before, the flash hider is removable, which means that you can attach anything onto the end, such as silencers or something, although with this gun I'd say that aesthetically that wouldn't look very good. Disassembly of the gun, which I'm going to do in another video, is very, very quick and easy. Sometimes it can get a bit stiff or hard to do, maybe a bit of fiddly parts, but it's not hard to remember or it's not hard to get your head around. Getting the battery in and out, battery space is okay. It's fairly easy to get battery in and out. Just again, parts can be fiddly. You can get caught on things, and it can obviously slow you down changing the battery. The sight systems in it are pretty much like any other M4 or anything else like that. Nothing fantastic about it, but it's okay. The hop up is easily adjustable, just with the revealing with the cocking handle, and again, it is the hop up works fine in it. Sometimes on the lower levels of the hop up, the hop up rubber can kind of lodge BBs in the barrel, or it might, especially in cold weather, if the hop up rubber gets a bit hard or something like that, it can sometimes cause jams or something like that. But apart from that, I haven't had any jams with the weapon or anything like that. I mainly use high caps for it, as the gun actually came with two high cap M4 mags, which the fact that it takes M4 mags is very good, as M4 mags are very common. And as well, if you're out of ammo or something like that, then a friend could lend you an M4 mag or something like that, because the likelihood is that they probably will have one. Another aspect that I like about this gun is that if you see with the change lever and the safety catch, there is no doubt as to where, like, if you're on semi-automatic or automatic. I mean, I know it's not labelled, but when you're switching between them, it's not, you can't get it caught in between. Not like with some guns such as G36s, where you can have it slightly in between. Sometimes when you're on semi-automatic, it can spit out like a 2-round burst or something like that, and it get a bit dodgy with the fire select. Fire select on this is actually very solid, very easy to use, especially with the safety catch as well. It's just simply on and off, no messing about with that. The fact that the rear sling loop is ambidextrous, that helps quite a lot, as 1-point slings you can attach to it on either side. But the front sling loop is not ambidextrous, which means you can only really have 3-point slings or 2-point slings on right-handed. So that gets watered down in that aspect, really. And aside from that, the body is it definitely wouldn't break. I mean, it might shake about a bit, but it's still fairly well solidly put together. Only shakes about because that's how it's assembled. It just the upper and lower receiver are completely split, which means that it has the split trigger system, which sometimes kind of means that it might get a bit faulty, or sometimes the connection might not be as strong, considering it's just two metal parts that are touching together. But that's simply how it disassembles, which obviously makes the disassembly a lot easier. That also makes it similar to the real gun, because that's what it is like in the real one. But the body, however, is full metal, apart from obviously the olive green bits, which are polymer or rubber. But the polymer is very high density polymer. It is exactly the same material as what the real gun is. And aside from that, I'd say, in conclusion, it is a good intermediate gun. I wouldn't say if you wanted to upgrade it or somewhere, maybe put a better hop up or barrel into it, or maybe even upgrade the gearbox. It may be okay for milsims, but at its current state, I'd probably say it's a good skirmish gun, very good skirmish gun. Looks absolutely brilliant. I love the look of the L85, especially if you got the rail systems for it, and a grenade launcher and stuff like that. It looks so much better than the majority of guns. So obviously, if you wanted to do something like a showpiece or something to show off, the L85 is definitely a good gun to have. Comparing it with things like the G&G gun, the G&G is a top tech one, but I'd probably say that it is the G&G one is a blow by one, and which could make it look a bit better. But all in all, I haven't used that one properly, but I'd probably say that they're about equal as far as performance goes, or how professional they are in airsoft. But if you were looking for a good skirmish gun, maybe one that you could upgrade for a milsim, I would probably recommend the ICS l85 if you were wanting something unique, or something different, or something that looked good. Thank you for watching my review of the ICS l85. Please like, favourite and subscribe, and comment below on what you thought of the videos. Give us advice on how to improve our videos. Please Please stay tuned for videos every Saturday, and I'll see you next time.